Hi. One of my guitars is needing a new set of strings on, so it kind of inspired me to do a tutorial about getting your guitar in tune and keeping it in tune. If you've been playing for a while, some of the stuff in this video is probably going to be kind of old news to you, but there's a lot of people out there who are just learning, don't know some of the stuff that the more experienced guitarists take for granted, like tuning a guitar. So if you've been playing for a while, got a bit more experience with maintaining your instrument, you might want to fast forward to the end where I've got a few tips about how to keep a guitar in tune once you've got it tuned up. If you're not so familiar with getting a guitar in tune and the more basic stuff, and stick around and we'll go over the basics, and hopefully you should be comfortable with knowing how to get your guitar tuned up. Okay, first off, I need to stress why it's so important that you keep your guitar in tune. It gives you a reference pitch, most importantly, so when you're playing with other people, if you know that everybody's tuned, so their bottom E string is tuned to E, and so on, everybody's playing together. When you're playing in a band situation, or if you're playing against a backing track or something, you know that you're going to sound right along with everybody else. Secondly, there's the thing about just getting your ear used to what a tuned instrument sounds like. If you don't keep checking that your guitar's in tune, you know, some of the strings get slightly out and then either one note or another. If you play like that every day, that's going to start to sound kind of normal for you. So when you're playing a guitar that's in tune, if you hit a duff note or you're bending the string slightly sharp or something, you won't be so aware of your mistakes because you're kind of used to hearing something that's out of tune. So having your guitar in tune is just a good bit of just general ear training as well. Okay, two ways of tuning your guitar. One is to tune it against reference pitch. You've probably seen things like tuning forks, where you can hit a tuning fork and it'll play a particular note, usually an A, and you can then tune your A string to that. And then once your A string's in tune, tune the guitar to itself. I'll show you how to do that in a second. Or there's other things you can get, like pitch pipes, which are sort of look like little cut down flutes or pan pipes, and you can blow through each pipe and it'll play the note of a string on the guitar. They're great if you're using standard tuning, but you can do alternative tunings on the guitar where you tune into different notes. Pitch pipes probably aren't so useful for those. If you're using PhatPhish, what you can do is you can go onto the tuning dialog in there, and there's some little speaker buttons for each string. If you click on those, PhatPhish will play you the note for each string, and you can use that and just by ear keep tuning your guitar up or your guitar strings down until it sounds the same as the note that PhatPhish is playing. You could also get sort of electronic devices to help you tune your guitar. I've got this one which I picked up years and years and years ago. It's the first guitar gadget I ever bought once I got an electric guitar. It's got a little meter on it, sliding control, so you tell it what string you want to tune to, plug your guitar in, or there's a little microphone if you're using an acoustic guitar, and a little needle swings backwards and forwards depending on if the note's sharp or flat. When the needle's dead centre, then that string's in tune. They're great, very useful. Similar devices get built into effects pedals, and I've even seen some amplifiers now that have got built-in tuners, so they're great for tuning up on stage. Another device, I got myself one of these recently to help me tune my acoustic guitar. Just a little thing that clips onto the headstock, and it's got a little tuning meter there and little electronic needle that swings backwards and forwards and just picks up the vibration through the headstock and helps you to see if your guitar's in tune or not. Okay, if you're tuning your guitar up, you're probably aware that you've got these tuning pegs at the top of the neck on the headstock. Turn them one way, the string goes sharp, turn them the other way, the string goes flat. What you might also see on electric guitars like Floyd Rose bridge, something like that, is you have fine tuners built on the bridge, so you can do some fine tuning once the guitar's in tune. I'll talk about those a little later. Okay, now if you can get one string of the guitar tuned to pitch, what you can do is tune the other 5 strings to that one known good string. Normally you'll find you tuning, say, the A string with a tuning fork, because tuning forks generally come at concert pitch A. If you tune the A string, what you can do is, if you play the bottom E string at the 5th fret, that would normally give you an A note. So if you play that at the 5th fret and compare it with the open A string, if the note's sharp, you need to tune the bottom E string down. If that 5th fret note sounds a bit flat, you need to tune the bottom E string up. Do that until the 5th fret on the E, bottom E sounds the same as the open A string. And then you can repeat that sort of process across the neck. And the way it works is 5th fret on the E sounds the same as an open A, 5th fret on the A sounds the same as an open D, 5th fret on the D sounds the same as an open G, 4th fret on a G sounds the same as an open B, and 5th fret on the B string sounds the same as an open E. So basically every string at the 5th fret should sound the same as the next open string up, with the exception of G, where you're fretting it at the 4th. Okay, so if the guitar's in tune, you should hear those notes sounding quite similar when you're playing the fretted note and the open note. Now another way you can tune the guitar to itself is by using harmonics. If you haven't come across harmonics and you're playing, don't worry about it too much for now. It's just another way of getting a string to sound, and it's quite effective for tuning. There's a little tuning trick which I'll show you now. You need a little bit of gain for this, because this actually works better if you've got a bit of distortion. So I've got an overly distorted sound on my amp. If the guitar's in tune, taking the bottom E and the A strings as a starting point, if we play a natural harmonic of the E string at the 5th fret and a natural harmonic of the A string at the 7th fret, they should sound the same. The advantage of tuning like this using harmonics rather than fretted notes is when the two strings are out of tune with each other, the difference is really noticeable in the harmonics, and as you bring in the out of tune string up to the right or down to the right pitch, that you can really hear the way the harmonics are kind of beating, and then they'll settle out at a very steady tone. I'll show you that now by tuning string down, play the harmonic, hopefully the microphones pick that up. Those harmonics sound the same. Hopefully you can hear that as I'm tuning it up. You can hear the notes really coming together. And the formula, or the way to do this with harmonics is 5th fret natural harmonic on the bottom E to 7th fret natural harmonic on the A, 5th fret natural harmonic on the A to 7th fret natural harmonic on the D, 5th fret natural harmonic on the D to 7th fret natural harmonic on G, 4th fret natural harmonic on the G to 5th fret natural harmonic on the B, and 5th fret natural harmonic on the B is also the 7th fret natural harmonic on the E. Okay, so that's getting the guitar in tune. What I'll do now is just give you a few quick tips for easing the tuning process and keeping your guitar in tune once it's tuned up. I'm going to switch over to another guitar because there's a couple of things I want to show you relate to using a locking trem, which this guitar doesn't have, so I'll just do a quick switch over. Okay, back with my trusty Thompson guitar. This guitar's got a Floyd Rose locking tremolo. Couple of things to bear in mind when you're tuning a guitar with a trem of any sort, particularly with a locking tremolo system. First off, with a locking trem, you've got the locking nuts here. Don't forget, when you're tuning your guitar using the tuning pegs, make sure that these clamps are undone. It's a real schoolboy error. I've made it myself probably more than one occasion. Forget to unlock the nut here, start turning the tuning pegs. Nothing's happening along the strings, but there's so much tension building up along between the tuning peg and the nut, and that little bit just snaps and the string's broken and wasted. So don't forget to unlock that. Also, on the bridge, on a locking trem, generally we'll have some sort of fine tuners, some little knobs here where you can turn them up or down to fine tune the string sharp or flat. They're great for making little adjustments. You know, once the guitar's generally in tune, you might find your strings stretch slightly when you're playing, and go a little bit slack, or changes in temperature make the strings go slightly sharp or slightly flat. Fine tuners are great for making little adjustments to compensate for that. When you're setting your guitar up and getting it in tune, adjust those tuners so they're about in the middle, so you've got a bit of movement up or a bit of movement down as needs be. Another tip when you're tuning your guitar with a trem system, particularly if you've got the trem where it's set floating, so if you play, you can go, or you can go up or down. That's floating free. And the problem when you come to tune a guitar with one of these bridges on is, as you're tuning the tuning peg, it's making the string tight. You're tuning one string and getting it into tension. What can happen is the tension on that string is gradually pulling the trem, or as you're detuning it's relaxing the trem, and the trem is knocking the other 5 strings either sharp or flat. You spend so much time almost like chasing your tail. You'll get one string in tune, the other 5 are out. Tune that, another one of those strings, the string that previously was in tune will be out because the tremolo block's moving up and down and knocking the whole guitar out of tune. If you've got a guitar with a trem that's roughly in tune and you're restringing it, and it's always good if you're restringing the guitar, change all 6 strings in one session. But if you've got a guitar with a trem, take one string off, replace that one string, get it up to tune, and the tension will be generally right. Then move on and replace the next string, and so on until you've done all 6. It makes tuning it much, much easier. It's always good to stretch the strings. Once you get them onto the guitar and they're in tune, just pull them backwards and forwards a bit. Not too hard. You're not trying to snap them, but just to give them a bit of stretch. It does help with the stability. Okay, and by the magic of cinema, another quick guitar change, because I want to go back to a guitar without a locking trem, just to talk about the nut very quickly. One thing that can cause problems with tuning is the strings not moving freely over the nut. There's a slot that should be string sized, string width for each string there. You need to be sure that the slot is big enough for the string to move freely. You don't want it so wide that the string's flapping about. It needs to be held securely, but it needs to have freedom of movement. So if you've got a nut that's made out of plastic or bone or graphite, make sure that the slots in it are the right size for your string gauge. You know, if you change up to a heavier gauge string, something slightly thicker, the chances are the strings aren't going to move smoothly over the slots in the nut. If you're turning the tuning peg, the tension will change between here and here, but if there's a bit too much friction, it won't necessarily adjust the tension in the string properly. If the slots are the wrong size, it's probably a job for your local guitar technician. Should be quite a quick job just to cut the nut slots to the right size. Another thing to bear in mind with a nut such as this is to keep the string slots lubricated, either just a drop of like a light sewing machine oil or something, just to keep the strings moving freely, or alternatively with the strings off, if you get a very soft pencil like a 5 or a 6B pencil or softer, sharpen that to get a nice point on it, and then rub the pencil into the slots where the strings go. We put the string back in, there'll be a thin layer of graphite, which is actually a very nice natural lubricant, and it'll keep the string moving freely. Okay, so there's a bit of advice on how to get your guitar in tune, and once it's in tune, how to keep it in tune. Hopefully you found that useful. As I said at the start, if you're an experienced guitarist, probably a lot of that was stuff you already knew, but might have been a tip there at the end that was useful for you. I hope you've got something out of it anyway. Hopefully you can go ahead and you've got the confidence now, even if you're an absolute beginner, you've got the confidence to know how to get your guitar in tune and keep it in tune. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye for now.